We are back, guys. I know I've been on a little bit of a month hiatus, but we're back with the Real Life Fishing Podcast, guys. We've been in the middle of the move and just kind of, a lot going on in the podcast. I had to kind of put on a little bit of a break, but we are back. Got a great guest today, Israel Mills, man. Great. We got a great guest. Great. Man, this podcast is a good one. Like I said, just got done with it, man. We talked about a lot, okay? We went into the future of bass fishing. We talked about the Arkansas Anglers Association and how Israel is a big part behind it. He shared some stories with traveling, as Israel was, guys, him and Spencer Sheffield are roommates. We're roommates on some traveling for tournaments. And man, guys, it was a good one. And once again, appreciate you guys joining on. I got getting a bunch of these scheduled up. Okay, guys, we got, of course, our anglers in the state, right? Like I said, I want this to be for Arkansas anglers, but at times we're going to have special guests. And I got one really big special guest. Talked to him today from out of the state. Right now, he's not one of the big names in bass fishing right now, okay, guys? So be making sure you come tuning in. Come check that one out and the others as well. Before guys get in this podcast, let's talk about some of the recent last month what's been going on and with the tournament scene, okay? Not just fishing, but tournaments. I know today there's the Sunday Hamilton tournament. Like it's every other Sunday just about. Lake Hamilton, 18.5 pounds was won by Carson Humphrey and his brother Blake. They had a 7.5 pounder. Carson was on the podcast recently, but at this tournament, guys, a lot of hammers. A lot of hammers. You had Spencer Sheffield, the Brownings were there, Jamie Black, Hustleton. I'm pretty sure there was more there. I wasn't there, guys. I was actually at church, and then here I was doing computer work all day. But I know there's a lot of great anglers there. The Rusty Hook Series, previously, a couple weeks ago, was at Ouachita. A good friend of mine, future Marine guy as well, Trent Owens, and then his dad, Ricky. They won that one. And then Carson was on the show as well. They got second. Cannon Harmon was with Blake Humphrey, and Cannon was one of my first one on the podcast. So guys, we've had some good anglers on this podcast. I know I brought some younger ones on, and now we're bringing some older, kind of more in that range of more of the term experience and those guys. But man, we've had some good anglers on the podcast, and going to have some more in the upcoming as well. Fishing for me, I've caught a lot of fish lately. I've fished Lake Ouachita twice in the last 2 weeks. My first outing out there, man, I caught some fish pretty early, and then kind of got rough, and then later in the day I caught little fish, man, but it wasn't as good. But my trip 2 days ago, man, it was a blast. Man, it was a blast. A lot of my stuff, guys, you're going to be able to see on my YouTube channel called The Fishing Coach. One thing I'm going to share, one way you guys can support me, if you've ever shopped at fishusa.com, okay? Fish USA. I have an affiliate link now. I've partnered with Fish USA. The link will be in the description. You click that link, go through, shop, make your order, and then I get a percent of what you order, and it comes back to me. So it helps support me with what I do. Pretty cool way to partner with them. And if you're guys interested in supporting what I do in my fishing world, my fishing adventure, man, I really would appreciate it, okay? Other ways I know you guys support me, I mentioned Jamie Black. Black's been on here. We got the Black Customs Lure. I'm all about supporting the locals. Guys, Jamie has a couple new Alabama rigs. One's a BFL rig. Guys, if you go to his website and order, you can use my code FishCoach. And it'll help support me. I get a percent of it as well. I know a lot of you guys go and probably buy them at the stores, but if you want to support me, check out his website. Use my code. It'll be in the description. Also, guys, the podcast is brought to you by Futural Marine. I'm going to share with you something that I just got from Futural recently. I know right now boats, not been a good time to buy boats. Used boats are coming down in prices though, guys, okay? Used boats are coming down. Futural Marine, I know I've talked about in podcasts, man, they help me, they support what I do. Great family business, okay? 3 generations of Futurals have ran the store, and it means a lot, I think, for me to know that, hey, like, you're working with people, family that want to help you, okay? They want to help you with your boating needs. How they helped me recently. Guys, something I'm going to share. I just got a lithium battery, smaller one, that runs my live scope. I use a live scope a lot. I'm on the water a lot. I finally bit the bullet and went to a marine battery that just does my live scope only. I'm an older boat, and I wasn't really sure about putting a marine or a lithium battery on my Mercury outboard. That's my 16-year-old Optimax. I just wasn't sure about it. And those lithiums I know are a little bit higher. So I went to a more affordable lithium, right? But it runs my live scope. I'm now getting 13 volts in 10 hours of fishing. And guys, if you don't use your live scope a lot, and you get those 12.2 to 12.5 volts or 12 volts, 11.8, 11.9, you're not getting the best picture. So I went and I think the lithium I got's a Monster Marine lithium. It's a smaller size. I believe I kind of went blank. I probably should know it better. It's a 50. Was it 12 volt, 50 or 80? I don't know. But if you're interested in it, hey guys, ask me more about it. It's in my boat. It's kind of in there. I've checked it out once. Probably not the best, way for me to advertise it. But all I know is I'm now fishing for 10 hours. I fished for 10 hours the other day, Washita. Never got below 13 volts. Okay, let's go ahead and get on the podcast. I appreciate if you're watching on YouTube. Please hit that subscribe button, share with your friends, and hey, let's get into it. Israel, glad to have you on, man, to the podcast. Appreciate you having on. You just got off the water today, man. You just told me you caught fish, man, but it was one of those days on Hamilton to where if execution didn't happen, then, man, it was just one of those tough days.
It was just, it started out cold, so I started out really slow, not wanting to go nowhere this morning. Hands got real cold, just running in 30-degree weather, it's horrible. Most of us stuck around the weighing facility there for a while before we all took off, but it started out slow. I didn't really get bit till mid-morning, and started getting bit on a jig. Caught a few 2-pounders, and had them in a live well and lost a 3 and a 4 at the boat, well, almost to the boat, and I got mad and left a little bit early. My feelings got a hold of me, I guess. So it was about time to leave anyhow. So I beat the crowd to the ramp and left.
Man, it happens. But I appreciate
you're taking your
Yeah, there's a bunch of good anglers there, man. I mean, I know, like I said, you were there. Oh, yeah. Spencer, the Brownings, Jamie Black, I've heard was there. Hustleton. I mean, dude, like y'all decided to come up today.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some hammers around in Arkansas, especially in Central Arkansas, and you have a derby in the winter where there's nothing big going on, and all the big guns show up.
Yeah. Always something to fish. Well, hey, so tournament fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I just want you, I told you I want kind of get to know you a little bit. And I know you're not originally from Arkansas. You moved down here from West Virginia. Just kind of talk about what led you to Arkansas and how'd you got down here.
Well, I'll start off. I grew up in southern West Virginia, coal fields. Not much work, so I joined the military. Come back home, and had that background. Went straight into the coal mines and started working, and upper Big Branch mine explosion happened and killed about 29 of my coworkers. That was really the time that I said, well, I got to get out of this career field. And my wife started looking around on the internet and found openings for the Corps of Engineers, and I had a military background, so I applied and I got it. And then it was go time to move to a state that from a state that had hardly any lakes at all to a lake that I think I got like 20 lakes I could go to here.
Yeah.
That was another thing. And I work on the lake. I work on the Gray right now, so it was a big change and a change in the direction I wanted to go. So here I am.
Oh man, that's awesome.
10 years.
10 years. So you're married, right? You're married and have kids, right?
Yes, I have 4 kids: Josh, Taylor, Jacob, and Katie. All the way from in their 20s down to 13 years old.
Wow. So,
and my wife Frankie works for Washita School.
Man, that's awesome. So, like, I know me. We lived. I told you we just moved back up here. My family's in Bryant. My wife's family's in Little Rock. But the last 6 years, we've lived 2 hours from our family and down there in Nashville. And we had 1 kid, about to have another one. But no telling how it was for you. Just, hey, we're going to leave our family in West Virginia and move south. And have kids during that, man. That's a lot.
It's 836 miles from doorstep to doorstep, from my mom and dad's doorstep to my doorstep. And it's tough, being away from mom and dad. They're getting up in age, and luckily we have things like this and
Mm-hmm.
Facebook and things that keep us a little bit closer together. But I see them getting older, and it kind of bothers me that I'm so far away.
Yeah.
A little bit different culture, but it's slower here. It's a little bit slower. The rat racing ain't as bad, so I think it was a good move just for my kids
Yeah.
in general, and my sanity, I guess,
Mhm.
getting out of the coal industry.
Yeah. So what do you do exactly? You might not be able to say everything you can do, but like in general, what do you do with the Corps of Engineer? And you said Lake DeGray, you're out there a lot. What's a kind of an idea what you do? When you are fishing at the lake, you never know when you will have an accident or the outcome of the accident. Now, we always hope to not have one that could be potentially life-threatening. Life insurance to me gives me the comfort to know my wife and kids will not have to worry about my income in case of an accident that I have no control over. If you're interested in life insurance policy, then give my good friend Michael Howard from Farm Bureau in Nashville, Arkansas a call. My good friend Big Fish Howard will give you a quote today that will be the best for your situation. There will be more information in the description below. Thank you.
I work in the dam. I'm a hydroelectrician. We generate power, and I'm one of the guys that operate the gates, start the units. If there's something wrong with them, I troubleshoot them. General things like help with some, like if we have flood issues or repair issues around the area. I'm the go-to guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 of us out there that actually does this. We're maintenance, basically.
Yeah, nice. Now, you've moved down here bass fishing. I'm about to go fishing now to DeGray with your job. When did you realize that like current can be a factor at a lake like DeGray?
I've always knew that current was a factor just by fishing rivers my whole life. The lakes are smaller in West Virginia, so the very few lakes we got. So anytime they're drawing water or you got influx of water, it makes a huge difference there. So it's no different there here than it is anywhere else. The DeGray aspect of it and drawing water, it's more effective in certain areas. Where it has pinch points or around current breaks and things like that, and it's really, really slight. And the wind is a big factor also. The current for the wind, that has a big play in fishing these lakes around here.
Yeah,
especially
so like
the gray with the sharp points.
Yeah, and I asked that because like me personally, I grew up fishing Washita and DeGray too. When I went to Anderson State, so I was there I worked at the school and I was there in Arkadelphia for like 5 years. So I fished DeGray seasonally around my job, and DeGray was weird. Like, dude, I caught fish every year, but I never did it the same way. Like one winter it'd be the jig, the next winter it'd be this. The Alabama rig came out when I was there, so oh my gosh, that first year the A rig came out, it was just dumb. And I asked about the current because I grew up fishing the Arkansas River, but I never thought about current being a factor. And no one, me, I just grew up fishing on my own. I didn't have no one in my family fished. But then when I moved down to southwest Arkansas and fished all those flood control lakes, I learned real quick how current was a factor. Then I realized, of course, you take it to DeGray, Washita, Hamilton, but, like you said, it's areas of the lake. And that was just like a wow moment. Like I felt dumb, because I just never thought about it for those big lakes. So that's why I asked.
Fishing has a way of doing that.
Yeah, 100%.
You can be a hero one day and a zero the next. It's
yes. Yes.
But
yes.
Yeah, I don't really fish the draw current, I guess you say, at DeGray.
Yeah.
As much because you never know when they're doing it, and it's hard to tell when they're doing it. Other than if you call and see if they're generating or not.
Yeah.
But the main current that I fish is the wind currents. DeGray's sets from east to west, and you get a lot of breaks and things like that with the natural wind.
Yeah.
So that's my main current deal for DeGray. It seems like it helps me pinpoint the fish a little better.
Yeah, yes. Now, so you said 10 years. I'm trying to think. It's what? So that's 2013, 12, 13. You didn't get to be a part of that original grass bite at the Gray, like in the mid
No, I didn't.
2000s. Man, so like I
No, I
started
did not.
fish. Yeah, I started fishing kind of right after that. But like my old football coach and other people I knew would just tell me stories of that grass bite, and it sounded unbelievable. I kind of hope one day it comes back.
Yeah, Spencer does the same thing to me. He tells me all these stories about the grass, and I'm just like, it's a it's a completely different lake than what we're fishing now. So
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't have no idea, but it is coming back.
it
It's
is.
it's on its way,
It is.
and AGFC's been doing a big grass program on there, trying to get
Yeah.
the natural grasses back.
Heck yeah. So hey, now you mentioned Spencer. I'm going to kind of go to him because you roomed with Spencer, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was going to bring that up,
yeah.
but like tournament fishing, like what brought you into tournament fishing?
Well, actually, I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and one of the coal companies back home had a fishing tournament. It's actually a night fishing tournament, and my neighbor's boy I played with all the time, growing up, his dad, or he wasn't able to go, and his dad asked me if I wanted to go. First time I'd ever been, and I can still remember that. I mean, I remember it clear as a bell. Fishing at night, couldn't see the bank, and you know, actually catching a fish on a Alabama or not Alabama, Texas rig
Mm-hmm.
at night with a worm, and it's one of the memories I can remember so vivid. Got a little trophy for getting second place, and I still have it somewhere. I don't know where it's at, but it was way back. But that was my first introduction into tournament bass fishing. You know, I grew up fishing the rivers and trout fishing and things like that. And then it just kind of stuck with me. I started buying packs of worms at Walmart, and you know, even though I didn't get to go that often, then Mom started dropping me off at these ponds, and I really got hot and heavy into trying to lake bass fish. And I got actually I bought my first boat just when I got out of high school and started working. Couldn't afford the thing, but I still bought it, and started fishing little derbies around there, and did okay for my age, I guess. And then got me a little bit bigger boat, and then all of a sudden I joined the military, and joined the military, and everything got put on hold. I actually went to Korea and caught bass in Korea.
Wow.
You know, they think they're trash fish over there. So I'm walking around this city lake. My dad had sent me some fishing rods and lures, and I was walking around this lake, and I'm finding all these dead bass laying on the bank. I'm like, what in the world is going on? And I come up to some guys carp fishing, and they was catching these bass on their carp lures and throwing them on the bank because they was trash fish. And that was culture shock for me. So then I came back, and only thing I could think about when I was in the desert and overseas was bass fishing. I was just couldn't wait to get back. And as soon as I got back, I took some of the money I saved up, bought me a bass boat, and started fishing the locals. What they call them? They changed the name of them. The BASS Bass Nation.
Yeah.
Started fishing them. Did pretty good. Went to the regionals and all that. And then I decided I was going to step up a little bit, so I bought me a little bigger boat, and I started fishing the Bassmaster Opens. Fished them for a little bit, and moved out here. And this was FLW territory, so I had to switch everything from there and go to FLW. And started fishing the Arctic division of the BFLs, and then went from there and started fishing the Toyota series.
Yeah, that's what I told you over the
Here I am
phone.
now.
Yeah, that's what I shared with you over the phone. You know, I always saw you in the Mr. Bass. You know, I keep up with it, and you know, I don't fish the tournaments. I fish small tournaments here and there. I do the high school fishing, as I told you, but like I always saw your name up in the top, and then the last 2 years I hadn't. I was like, man, where's he been? And realized here you are. You stepped up to the Toyotas. which is, we know, time consuming, money. But man, you're going for you're going for the big goal, which I guess you're trying to qualify for the invitationals where you were.
Yeah, I was, and then I was pursuing, wanted to be a professional bass fisherman.
Yeah.
And then I became friends with Spencer Sheffield and watched him come up from nothing into it, and decided maybe I don't want to be a professional bass fisherman. And that's a lot of heartache. I tell you, that guy there is something else when it comes to fishing. Me and him roomed for some of the Arctic Vision and the Mr. Bass, and I learned a lot from him, and just basically how the tournament scene works. His dad Ron was in the tournaments for years, and learned that it's a lot of heartache.
Yeah.
And it takes a special person to do it, and I think I could do it, but I'm beyond. I have a family and established job and all that, and it's hard to step back. If you're going to do it, you have to give it 100%, 110%. And currently, in my situation, I can't give it 110%. Just because of bills and the everyday life.
Yeah, and I know that's kind of what we talked about on the phone.
This year,
them young. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, but like them young kids right now, younger guys, yeah. But that's what talking about. Like you're in a situation, 4 kids, wife, man. Yeah, you got to provide for the family. But like right now, like they said, exactly. the Bass Opens this year, that age was so young. Ben Milliken's 34, and he's the oldest that qualified. But Ben's been full time for 3 years, and Ben's a good fisherman. I mean, we all know. But those dudes don't have wives and kids. I mean, all they do is fish, and it's crazy how it's gotten to this point to where you got it. Hey, they said, what's his name? I just went blank. I heard it the other day. The dude that was a number 1 in the AOI for the Bass Opens. Man, I just went blank on his name. Was it JT? JT Tompkins, is that his name? I don't want to, put it wrong.
I'd have to look it up.
But they said, I'm looking, I got my computer right here. I'm actually at a computer. Yeah, JT. I think I listened to where JT was on the water 93% of the days last year, like in 2022.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. I mean, no wonder that dude's number 1. But hey, he did it. Give him credit. But me and you, I mean, I'm in the fishing industry and I can't do that. I mean, I still gotta be here. I mean, like so it's crazy how that's became though. Like it really is.
Yeah, well, I think what's happening is these kids now are getting more exposure to the bass world earlier before life happens, so they can start out earlier, know they don't have a wife, and they know when right then and there that's what they want to do, and they can go for it. When you got a family and then you decide, when you have a family and a life going on and then you decide to do it, you've got a lot of obstacles to overcome because you got bills, you got this, that, and other, and fishing is not a solid income like the regular workman, electrician, or whatever. You got to win, you got sponsors, you got anything can happen at any time, a breakdown, and it's all on you. It's where I work now, if they break down there, it's all on them. I'm the one that fixes it.
Yeah. So that's what I've learned. And that you asked me about me getting in it. Like as an educator, I was getting the same check every month. Now each year it would change or go up. I knew what I was going to get. But now, like, it is really month to month. Some months, like this summer, I killed it. And then there was a month recently to where I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? And so there's your good and your bad. And like, and today with fishing, the social media side, like a lot of those anglers got into it just to fish. Now they got to have Instagram, this, and they don't want to do it unless if they're young. But like those older guys, they really don't want to do YouTube and do all this stuff.
No, it's a lot of work doing like what content creating.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of time behind the computer, and you spend a lot of time behind the computer. It's time you should be on the water.
Yes.
Unless you're doing it like you do and integrate it into both of them. But then you have editing you have to do, and I'm sure there's days you'd like to be on the water besides editing, and
100%. That's what. When I was talking, when I was talking to Stetson Blaylock last week, he made a joke because some people that get it like you and others know I'm not on the water every day. But Stetson, I was talking to him about some of my scheduling, and he's like, yeah, so you're not on the water every day, huh? I was like, nah, Stetson, and he just laughed. He goes, dude, I know you're dang working, but like, if I am on the water, that means I'm editing all night, early morning. And like I'm about to have to do it with Christmas coming up because I'm about to have that little one. I have another baby on the way, and I'm over here just like foreshadowing. Hey, I gotta get out there because I love fishing in the winter too. Like if I had to pick the fish, it's right now. But yeah, man,
it's a blast.
So Spencer, you mentioned Spencer, man. Or go on real quick. I'm sorry to cut you off. I know we have a little lag.
Oh, that's all right. I think there's a little lag, and we kind of stopped and started at different times. What about Spencer?
I was gonna say, so Spencer, I know you roomed with them. You got to be a part. Was that last year he was in Mr. Bass? Dude, he made a dang tear. He like came back, took his hiatus, and then all of a sudden, man, dude went on that roll during Mr. Bass. And did you room with him during that year?
Yeah, I roomed with him that year. I finished ninth in Mr. Bass. I think did he win it? I think he was AOL that year. I think. Yeah, he won it.
Yes, sir. He was.
I roomed with
Jamie
him.
was second.
Yeah, I ended up ninth. I wish I could go back and do that again. That's a good fish. That was. But that's the first time I'd ever been on Beaver Lake. But anyhow, I roomed with Spencer. I think the first time I roomed with Spencer, we was on at Grish Ferry. And we were sitting there talking about tornadoes, and then next thing you know, we get a tornado warning, and one went right over our hotel and hit the docks and tore the docks all up and everything. And we're a couple of rednecks out there looking around, like looking up at the sky. Said, "Man, it's awful windy."
Yeah.
And I'd left my cover on my boat, and it filled up like a swimming pool. It was like a liner for it. It caved in. That next morning, I was scrambling and trying to get water out of my boat. I was taking buckets and dipping it out. But yeah, that was the first time I'd stayed with Spencer in a room that smelled like dead fish. It was pretty rough. But ever since then, man, me and him's been buddies. We talk a lot of fishing together. A lot of in life stuff. About everything in life around that circle encapsulates fishing. I guess I said that right. Encapsulates, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a really good guy. A lot of guys, he had that fiasco on Cayuga, and he had a lot of issues with that. And but a lot of guys misunderstand Spencer. He's a really, really good guy. One of the biggest, I guess, one of his pivotal times was he was struggling there for a while. He was trying to make a comeback, and he was fishing the Mr. Bass, and he was hitting some coastas here and there. And he was supposed to go to Table Rock for a costa, and I told him, I said, you know what, man? I said, you've been wanting one of these live scopes. I was like, why don't you take that money and go buy you a live scope and just skip this tournament? I was like, you've been messing with mine. You see what you can do with it. I said, why don't you do that and see what happens? Well, he did that, took my advice, he went and got one, and you seen what happened.
Wow.
He became known for the live scope.
Dude, yeah. So wow.
That's one of the things that kind of sticks out in my memory about Spencer, and I feel good about it. Maybe I helped him come back.
Wow. So what? I appreciate you sharing that. That's awesome. So like, what? Was that like 2018, 19ish? And you had it before him, but like, was that 2018?
I think it was. It was the next year he come back. And the whole time that I was with him, he says, I'm coming back. He says, I'm going back to the top. And I just kept pushing him, said, dude, I know you can do it. You did it once. Go back, do it again. I said, you got the bloodlines. Go for it.
Yeah.
And, he done, he done very, very, very well balancing his life and fishing, and I wish I had that ability. And he rock and rolled with it, man. He really did.
Man, he's known right now, like you just said, live scope. Like if you talk to anybody in the circuit at any level, he's probably considered one of the top 5 anglers of it right now. Like even 2 years ago when I got in the editing world, I was with a couple pros, and like, I'm not going to say the pro's name just for his privacy, but he was like, Jimmy, that dude's a ninja with it. He's like, that dude came in the same area that I was fishing one tournament, and he didn't fish something that we were fishing. He did his own thing, came in there, boom, 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 picked apart fish, was out. He's like, that dude, man, he's like, he's a sniper with it. And this is the first time I ever heard the term sniper, right? And, but like, we talked about earlier, that dude did put a lot of time to get good at it. He just didn't put it on his boat and was like, oh, I got it down. I mean, that dude spent hours figuring it out. But you had to be part of it too, though. I bet you were there watching it and got to help.
Yeah, it was, we did a lot of crappie fishing together with it, and that is a big help on learning how to use the live scope. He's a heck of a crappie fisherman too. I don't know if you've ever heard of any of his crappie stories or not, but man, he can straight up. I believe he knows what the crappie's thinking about watching him. Because he can catch him hand over fist in front of me or behind me. It don't matter. We can be sitting there fishing the same thing. 2 crappie looking at each other's lures and they'll bite his and won't touch mine. I'm like, what? He's just good. I mean, he is. He's a fish head.
Yeah, now one thing about him, you mentioned it, you said earlier like his dad was Ron. And I've heard so many podcasts with Spencer. I'm a fan of Spencer. I always was because he's an Arkansas guy and I like to support Arkansas dudes. And I don't know him near like you. Yeah. Don't know him. But one thing that I think I want to give Spencer credit for, and I know you probably would too. So like Ron, who was, a bass pro, successful pro, but Ron fished, as we know, spinnerbait jig. He was fishing those things, catch big fish. Now Spencer got to learn some of that from him, right? And but Spencer took that spinning rod and got so good with it. And I hear his story. He says he wanted to catch more fish. He was always with Dad. Dad wanted to catch 5 big fish. Spencer just got sick of that. But, dude, he is so good with the spinning rod. And I think that's neat that he doesn't fish like Dad. He took that, but then also figured other stuff out. And I know, like I said, you probably got to see it. That dude, I mean, even today, I heard people today that was on the lake, y'all fished that tournament. They're like, man, Spencer's out there with that spinning rod. And I'm just like, yeah, that dude probably 10 years ago was throwing a trap in a square bill.
Well, coming from West Virginia, I used to spin rod all the time, trout fishing, light line fishing, and all that. And I came here, and I had the perception that now I have to throw big baits. I'm in the South now. I got to throw big baits, big jigs, big crankbaits, power fish all the time. Well, I was wrong in a big way. And I didn't realize it until I started fishing with Spencer, and he had that spinning rod back out. And I'm like, you got a spinning rod back, here now? I'm like, I'm not even thinking about drop shotting here, And next thing you know, he's doing it and catching fish. I'm like, I go back to my old ways a little bit. I'm familiar with this. And, him kind of point me in the right direction, saying, hey, go back to light line and do this. Spinning rod. It really helped me a lot. I catch fish all the time now with by downsizing. I still power fish, we all do, but I had put my spinning rod and everything to the side when I moved here, and I had to break them back out after meeting up with Spencer and learning a little bit. He took me to school, I guess you could say.
Man, that's awesome. Good stuff. Hey, so talking on the road, you travel with Spencer, like I said, y'all travel together. But since you've been, like even this last year, whenever you've been traveling the tournament circuit, you got any crazy stories? Like, you got anything wild that top of your head you could share that might have happened? Like, you just shared the tornado thing, so that was pretty neat. Here you are. But is there anything else top of your head, like a crazy event or anything?
Uh, I was on the James River and had a guy pull a gun on me for cutting him off in
Okay,
traffic.
whoa.
I had that.
No way.
Yeah, had that happen. Stay in the Shady Hotels. I got a bunch of them stories. I think at one
Yeah,
hotel,
yeah.
I think I met Dale Earnhardt. Uh, what's his name? Jeffrey Dahmer and Richard Petty all in the same hotel. They was
No way.
guys that just looked like him, and it was weird. It was very weird. Some of the hotels that I've stayed in, never book a hotel without actually Google Earthing it, because
Uh-huh.
you may end up in places you don't want to be. But
Yes.
that's one thing that's always interesting, traveling and seeing different places and meeting new people. But crazy stuff, I'd have to go back and dig deep on that one.
Yeah.
Not a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's
Just
what I've
just
not,
awkward things, I guess you could say.
yeah, I've been lucky on my travel, top of my head. Matt Baker shared how there's a dang skunk at one of their places, which was pretty interesting. Like they stayed at VRBO and there's a skunk there, like a pet skunk. But dude, like down one of those times at Fork, I'm not gonna share the hotel to rat it out because I don't want to. But man, I was going to Fork a lot one year, and on the front side of this hotel, it's a popular hotel by the way. Front side of it, I was there for 2 weekends or weekdays. I never went on the weekend. I always went weekdays. But and dude, like the rooms were sweet, giant shower, like it was all redone. The third time I went, they put me on the back side, and dude, I took actually Kanan Harmon. I took him down there. He might have just graduated high school, so I took him down there. I think is what it was, and dude, like on that backside, the back it wasn't remodeled at all. It was still old. There's a dang hole in the shower, like a giant hole. Freaking bugs all in there, and I'm just like, what in the world? And I showed him pictures of what we were staying in, and I was like, dude, that's why I'm here. We're paying $100 for this, you know. And then he gets on Snapchat, and Snapchat's one of the Fork pros, and was like, dude, this is your place you recommend, you know. And you know, I went up to the owner and was like, dude, this is embarrassing. And they were sorry, but still, I haven't been back there since. I've been going to, I think, the resort ever since this one. Lake Fork Resort's been the one I've been going to. But yeah,
I love
I've
that
been
place.
lucky. Like,
Lake
hey,
Fork is awesome.
yeah, if you had, I guess, Fork, I call it the casino. But have you had pretty good trips there? I mean, because it's one or the other.
Yeah, I've had some real good trips there. I had some big fish trips there, and then I've had some numbers trips there. Once I learned how to fish at Gator Grass, I had a lot of numbers trips there, and but I used to run a skeeter, and we used to go down for the Skeeter Owners Tournament every year.
Yeah.
And that place is, man, it's something else. It's awesome.
Uh-huh.
I think my personal best was down there, 7 or 8 pounds, and it didn't weigh. I mean, it wasn't long enough.
Yeah, it wasn't long enough.
But learning to fish that Gator Grass, it was the key for me on enjoying Fork. You know, you go down there and you try to catch a big fish. You know, a lot of times you don't succeed at it, and it's a blanked out trip. But after I fished on that Gator Grass, it turned into, you know, I can actually go down there and catch fish on a normal occasion now.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. You go there to catch double digits, and you don't. You might catch one, right? But you got to go down there knowing, this is why I like to go. I love to offshore fish, probably like you. And you go down there to catch 5 to 7 pounders. Or it can be 3 to 5 pounders. Like, you can catch 30 of those dudes. And they fight more, as we know. I mean, dude, they're a different breed. But there was one summer. It was 2020, I think. Because I was fishing a lot in 2020. I was still coaching, teaching. You know, teachers, we didn't have to go to school. But I did all my work Monday. Like, I taught 4-5 classes online, recorded them all, put them up for the week. My wife was working every day, and so I fished like it was crazy. So I fished Fork a lot. Like I drove, it was 2.5 hours, so I drive down there. But man, dude, there was some that year, like our biggest during that kind of span might have been 7 to 8. But dude, there was one trip like we caught like 40 fish, and I promise you, all of them were like 3 or bigger. And dude, that's why you go. You don't go to catch, giants, but it's a sweet place.
Okay. A 2-pounder fights like a 4-pounder here down there. I don't know what it is.
Yes.
They got some kind of Hulk Hogan strength or something. I don't
Dude,
know.
yeah, them Texas, I think it's because there's so many of them in the lake, and they got a dang fight for them freaking gizzard shads and thread fins and brim, dude. Like they're meaner. We're like Arkansas, crap. I mean,
Oh.
you can spend 4 hours graphing in a creek and not see a fish.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I wish we had some lakes like that. Of course, Arkansas could have lakes like that.
I know that's
here.
another topic. That's another topic.
Yeah, it is. But hopefully in the next few years we'll see something happen.
Yeah. So
I think you're just going to see. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I know you're talking about it, but I was going to say just you're talking about the next few years, and you've tried to make a positive stride to help out bass anglers. You love bass fishing, which I do too, and but you've taken that step to try to have a relationship with the game and fish as a bass angler, and you started off the Arkansas Anglers Association, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I came from West Virginia, where we didn't have much water. We had streams, and trout fishing was big, and we had a few small lakes. And I go to other states. I fished from Canada to Mexico to the James River in Virginia, and ain't quite made it across the Rockies yet, but it's on the bucket list. And I've been to all these states fishing all around the country, and I've never been to a state that had as much resources as Arkansas has. And we have so many lakes. We got mountain lakes. We got swamp type lakes. We got above the fall line, below the fall line. Just so much different types of fisheries. But yet we have to go out of state to catch bigger fish. And that kind of bothered me in a way, because I'm like, this state has so much to offer, but yet they're not utilizing it. What's going on? What's happening? So, I've done some digging and, looked back at how things happen. You might remember the meetings we had with AGFC and, everybody complaining about this and that and the other. And it turned into a shouting match, or AGFC would give us a bunch of numbers and give us a survey and send us on our way. And that was it. Well, it kind of made, me think, they're just pacifying us is all they're doing. Well, Chris Williams, one of the guys that's part of our group, he started a Facebook page up, and I kind of took off and run with it and started, making posts about what we all thought was wrong with the lakes, why they're subpar to Texas or, Missouri lakes or, Tennessee. And everybody kind of followed along, and I started putting information out there that people could understand, and telling them, like, hey, it's simple. We need more food for more fish. That's what the deal is. And, we all kind of got together and talked about how, why isn't there as much food in these lakes as there is in, say, in Lake of the Ozarks? Well, we have hybrid. And hybrid are vacuums when it comes to shad. And, the gray has always had hybrid in it, but it had a lot of grass in it. So that kind of balanced things out just a little bit. The hybrid had trouble getting to the shad. Well, when it don't have grass in it, the shad are exposed and they're just, wiped out. Although there is shad in there, they're just not at levels that would make a bass grow to its full potential. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So anyhow, we've been putting that information out on social media and things like that, and people started following, and it kept getting bigger and started rolling, and turned into this Arkansas Anglers Association. We kind of renamed it. It was Arkansas Anglers Against the AGFC, for reasons of, everybody's kind of hot-headed and mad at the time. So we talked to AGFC, and we said, well, that's a little hostile.
Yeah.
So we kind of turned it to Arkansas Anglers Association instead of Arkansas Anglers Against AGFC. And it seems like that kind of piqued everybody's interest, and people started, messaging me, what can we do? I mean, there's so many people on board with this, but they just don't know how to get it to the right people, all the information.
Yep.
So that's what I've been doing. I've been studying on how to get information to AGFC, tell them, say, hey, we have a lot of people that don't agree with this, that, and the other. What do we need to do to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
And people have been real receptive to that, because I've been taking AGFC stuff and dishing it out to them in normal talk instead of AGFC's scientific talk and things like that, and putting articles on the Facebook page to show people exactly what is going on, and people are real receptive to it. They like it, and it seems like they're behind us quite a bit. We had a meeting with AGFC back in November, and we talked about the hybrid stockings and the results of the study that they're doing. Now, AGFC is doing a study with University of Pine Bluff about the effects of the hybrid on the black bass.
Mm-hmm.
And we're waiting to hear the results of that. And after we get the results of that, we're hoping that we can step up things a little bit better, because we think the results, unless they have fudged the results, are going to show that hybrid are having an effect on the growth potential of largemouth and black bass in general.
I appreciate you. Like I said, you just.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. You keep going. I'm sorry. I'll say it in a minute, but keep going.
We named it Arkansas Anglers Association instead of Arkansas Bass Association, because we wanted to get everybody else in there, the crappie fishermen,
Mm-hmm.
cat fishermen, carp fishermen. We don't care what they fish for, but we're trying to target things that affect the entire spectrum of fish. Like the shad. That's our first number one goal, is to make sure that the gray and other lakes have enough shad in them.
Yeah.
And we're pointing out the reasons that the shad are depleted in some of the lakes, and it's pointing back to a lot of the hybrid and the what do you call it? The habitat for them.
Yep. And what actually I was going to say, I appreciate you going that much in depth with it. I mean, you did a good job explaining. I even learned some there, and just like my thoughts. Gosh, there's so much thoughts. I think it's great bringing in all anglers, like you mentioned. Now the Game and Fish,
Yeah.
I told you I know people that work for Game and Fish. I have a good relationship with a biologist right now in Southwest Arkansas. But I will also say, and I've told people this because I fish like you fished from south to Canada, but in my last 2 to 3 years, I go to Oklahoma and Texas a lot. I have fished Table Rock. And Table Rock, you mentioned Lake of the Ozarks. Table Rock, they don't naturally stock hybrids or stripers there either. You might catch one, but they're not like stocked. And just look how those fish there. I know that lake's kind of on a downfall right now, but there's so much fish in that lake. And they, there's a lot of bait fish too. But like, here's my experience in since I've been full time. I can name 2 trips where I graphed for 3 to 4 hours on the lower end of the gray or Washita. Last year it was like around the Brady area, and I didn't see bait fish. And I'm out there trying to get I get pictures and screenshots from my graph for stuff. The gray, I did the same thing. The gray, I was on that lower end, and I literally didn't see bait fish for 2 hours. Saw many of brush piles, brim, bass, crappie, whatever. No bait fish. And I go up the river, and there's bait fish all in the river. But those lakes that I kind of grew up around the last 6 years, the tri-lakes I was telling you about, Derricks to Queen, Gillum, the people that know them know those places are awesome. But there's bait fish all in it. Like, it is crazy how much bait fish is in those lakes. Now, the bass don't get bigger than 7 pounds for some reason. Like, they're like dinosaurs, but there's a lot of 3 to 5 pounders. But like I told you about the queen, I got told by all those guys when it was on a downfall that they were still stocking hybrids. Well, they quit stocking hybrids. And dude, if you go out there in the spring at the queen, if you don't weigh in 23 pounds, you're getting you're not going to cash a check. Like, that's how good those lakes are. And me too, fishing Texas, like that fish, that's an OHIV fish. There's no hybrids in OHIV. Fork, there's no hybrids in fork. I fish so many Texas lakes, and I don't see them. But there's bait fish, so much bait fish. But I think, like I said, I'm not all against the game and fish. I think we need to come together, but I think there's somebody above that's kind of, I don't know. Don't want to get too crazy with it, but yeah. So, but there's just
what happens
something
a lot
to
with
it.
the hybrid? What happens a lot with the hybrid is you have these guides, and it happens with the stripers too. You have these guides,
stripers,
and there's only like let's say like on beaver. I think there's only like 8 or 10 guides on beaver for stripers. Well, they don't have that much clout within AGFC, but they're the people that their clients do. Like some senators or something like that wants to go take care of some of their people on a fishing trip. So AGFC sees that, then the guides use that as ammo to get their enormous amounts of stripers stocked in beaver. But the gray really don't have that many guides on it. It has maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah,
I think
100%.
The hybrid issue, there's not that many fishermen. They claim that there's a group of fishermen that fish for the hybrids, but I would say largemouth and black bass in general outweigh it 10 to 1.
Yeah.
I don't understand their thinking on some of the stuff, and I think it has to do a lot with money and funding. Honestly,
I agree, and I hope that the Bass Open opens their eyes, because here's my part right now. I'm a former math teacher, going to be principal, football coach. I'm not a dang whatever or one of those guys. But how many bass boats you see drive down the lake? How many bass boats are at Lake de Grey for a BFL, Trader Bill's? We have bass fishing stores. I mean, Bass Pro Shop has a section like this big for stripers and hybrids. You got Get Outdoors. I can name it. There's a pharmacy in Murfreesboro, Arkansas that sells baits. How many stuff sells bass baits? Yeah. And we want to put all this towards those fish that are silver with a black stripe. That's my thing. And so I think if we had the bass fishing better, if we did put more emphasis in it, I think the money it would bring in is more than they realize. But the one thing that I asked them, and they can't tell me, and like I said, I'm friends with some of the guys. I'm like, hey, why is our fishing license still $10.50? It's been $10.50 since I was 16 years old. That's 15 years ago. Inflation's happened. Why do we have a separate? Why is it not $20? Why and I don't know. Everybody has an iPhone nowadays. We can afford a $20 or $30 fishing license.
Right, but we need to make sure it goes to the right places.
100%. Yes, sir.
Make sure it's for fun or something
yes,
like that, because you know how politics works.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So that goes to my next question. This kind of turn fishing overall, man. Tournaments and just I guess here. So and I guess tournaments and bass fishing's two directions, or like fishing for fun. But like when we were younger, or even I guess before we were maybe born, I don't know. You get to hear like there used to be a 10 bass limit in tournaments, 7 bass. Now we're to 5. There's even talks at time 3. Is fishing heading in a good direction? Like, do you think your grandkids, my grandkids, are going to have it as good as us?
I think they'll have it better because I think that people are nobody really catches and eats anymore.
Yeah.
If you see a bass boat going out, they may take, but they're learning to take the right fish home. They're not taking a
Yeah.
5 or 7 pounder home and knocking the sides off of it. People are becoming more and more, especially as the older generation dies out and stops fishing and all that. People are becoming more cognizant of what makes the lakes better, and they are throwing back the right fish and education. And I think AGFC is going to do a big push for education on bass in the next couple of years, according to their plan.
Yeah. Hey, that plan has a lot in it.
It does. It has a lot in it. I think it would have turned out different if there would have been more actual bass people on the committee, because it was a black bass management plan, and some of the people that was involved in their little group that they designed, you might have seen the post about that.
Yeah.
They had very little to do with bass fishing, or knew very little about the lakes that they're on. That all around Arkansas, where we go to fish, lots of different lakes. They may have only been, some. We looked up some of them, and some of them didn't have a whole lot of background in the bass world, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So,
yes, sir.
Kind of, but it is what it is, and they're coming out with the I guess the individual lake management plans, like the Gray Lake management plan and the Washita management plan, and hopefully. What I'm pushing, and the reason that I brought that all up about that black bass management plan, is to hopefully they will see that, my side of it and our side of it, and actually put more influential people in the bass world in it. Like they had Melinda Miles, which was fine. They had Ward Gardner, which is fine, and it's a couple of the other guys that was fine in that. But the 9 of them that wasn't. We had no idea about them.
Yeah.
So, the reason I brought that up, and I've even sent them some emails about, we don't think that them people represented us very good. That maybe during the management plan for the lakes, they will include us.
Yeah.
And if they do that, and even if they just talk to me about it, I blast everything out there because I try to be as transparent on that Arkansas Anglers page as much as I can. And maybe we'll all have a little bit of voice, and that's really what the Arkansas Anglers Association is about, is everybody having a voice. And, a lot of people don't participate, but they look, and if, I'm sure if they didn't agree, I'd get some hate mail about it, which I have before.
It's okay.
So, but I think bass fishing is going in the right direction. I think, our young kids, in these high school element of bass fishing, I think they're getting more knowledge. They're getting more exposed to it, so they're understanding what the right things to do and what the wrong things to do are. Not that they all do the right things, but they're seeing it, and they're seeing us talk about it, and they're more exposed to the people that's been around it a long time, and through social media, they're seeing the right things and the wrong things to do. So I think it's got a good future. Bass fishing, I think, is going to just get better.
Well, I hope so. That's what you mentioned the kids. Here's what the kids have that like me and you did not have at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. I mean, I know you're probably 10 years older than me, 15, around there, I'm making a guess. You fished in a pond, lakes, rivers, without any, like, you watched probably Bassmaster on TV, Jimmy Houston, Bill Dance, like me. But these kids at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 can go on YouTube, can pull up a video and watch about side imaging, now forward-facing sonar. There's so much of that. And like my dude that I work with now, Fish the Moment, he was one of the guys on the forefront of doing the educational videos and showing the side imaging, showing this. So like those kids get to watch that. And where me and you had to go out there and learn it, they got to watch it, then go apply it or try to learn it. They're ahead. They get to watch these dudes throw baits. That's why they're learning so much faster, which is great. Like you said, it's great. It is.
Yeah, it's great. I'm kind of jealous. When it
Yeah.
comes to that. I mean, I spent 30 years getting there. Not quite 30. Yeah, I guess about 30 years. 30 years to get me, the grade of bass boat I got now and the type of truck I got now. Worked up to it and learning the fish and all this stuff. And it seems like it's coming like quick to these kids. You pull up to the ramp and there's a kid pulling up with a $65,000 bass boat and a $60,000 truck, and you're like,
Yeah.
man, where where was that opportunity when I was a kid? But that's just how it is. The times have changed.
Yeah, and I've seen it. I've seen
These
it
kids
with
definitely got a upper hand.
Yeah, and I've seen it with with me being a high school fishing coach. So I did it at Haskell for 2 years, 16, 17. I moved to Nashville. We didn't do a team until recently. Nashville loves football. They finally started a fishing team, but let me start it. But I got a couple kids down there that are good now. Now down there in Southwest Arkansas, a lot of great anglers. I mean, those dudes are dang hammers. They just fish there in Oklahoma. They don't come up to Hot Springs much. Some of them do. Like Chase Mitchell was one last year. Came up to Trader Bill's and did real well. But all those guys are down there. But there's one kid that I coach. He's an 8th grader right now, and his dad's a good angler. But of course, his dad didn't grow up with live scope. He got it recently, like I did and you did. But his name's Houghton, and I can talk about Houghton. So Houghton been playing with live scope, and he's an 8th grader. But this summer, this summer he got with me one day. And I went to film I made a big spoon video I put on one of my YouTube channels. And he watched me do the video. I had him come out, watch everything I do. Then we went and caught fish with it. And he was already good at the live scope as an 8th grader. But after that day, that kid would go out and, of course, copy it or figure things out. And they've won 2 tournaments this year with it. They caught a 17-pound bag at White Oak. And then down there at Derrick's, and they fished the Arclatech back series for high school, and then they had another tournament with 18 pounds. But these are 14-year-olds, and that dad's not running the trolling motor, like they're up there running it, dude, and he's out there sniping fish, and I'm just like, these kids, like I never was doing that at his age. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we just added a guy from Northwest Arkansas to our we have the Arkansas Angler Association, then we have a smaller group. It's kind of like a committee.
Yeah.
Because we can't, you have to have some structure.
Yeah.
Well, we just added a guy from Northwest Arkansas that is big into youth fishing. His boys into youth fishing and all that stuff. So he's going to help with an aspect on, where the youth side's going to come into this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still forming this thing. It's going to take a while to form everything up and get everything right. But that's one aspect that we definitely needed is the high school and younger fishermen. And we think that this guy up in Northwest Arkansas is going to kind of bridge that area.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can learn about the younger side of fishing, what they want to see, and then they can put some input to us, and we can relay it. Because I mean, it's going to be theirs one day. We won't be here, and it'll be all theirs.
Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
That's what we want to leave that. Leave a good fishery to them, so they can't say that we destroyed it before we checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And
so do you think
that's one thing I'm worried about?
Yeah. So you think with forward-facing sonar, there's all this talk about it's going to deplete the fish, it's going to hurt fishing, and I don't think so, but like what's your thoughts just on how it's going to affect fishing?
In a small body, it probably could. Like, in one of these state lakes that's only a couple thousand acres or something, it could put an effect on them. But I don't know if I've heard more crappie fishermen complain about, say that there's not going to be as many big crappie. But I don't think so. I've never. If you've ever seen the amount of crappies in these lakes with forward-facing sonar, there's no way you could catch all the crappie out of them. It's amazing. The how many crappies there. I don't think that's. If you took forward-facing sonar away on a tournament aspect, you're going to have the same guys on the top as you do now with forward-facing sonar. I mean, that's just how it is. You're gonna have the same guys. It ain't gonna change much. You know, it's a really neat technology. I can see where their concern would be, but I don't think it's going to deplete the bass population, because even AGFC is telling us we need to keep more bass.
Yeah.
We need to keep the right size. You know, the 2 pound and under males. You know, the spotted bass, things like that. And you know, that's a lot of what you catch with a live scope too. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's going to deplete. I don't think it's going to do any significance to it. But like I said, a smaller lake possibly, but not nothing on these big lakes.
Yeah.
I may be wrong.
Yeah,
That's my opinion. You know.
Yeah, and you talked about keeping fish. So that biologist, Dylan, that I know down there in Southwest Arkansas, I was talking about derricks. He called me about derricks recently and was asking me some questions. And I was asking him, I was like, hey, man, we already figured, we already had the talk, like, dude, the fish don't get much bigger than 7 pounds there. But, dude, there are so much 5-pounders in that lake right now. And I was telling him how I thought we could have hurt the fish this summer. As many people that was fishing it, people going down there and catching fish, putting them in their live wells, taking pictures. You see they're dead. The people that were hearing about it. And then I fished one night tournament, and we did everything we could, and those fish swam away. But I knew inside that they were going to die. Like, because the one thing I heard this last year is if the water's over 80 degrees and they're in that live well for so many hours, they're going to die later of brain damage. I didn't fish another night tournament because I felt bad, and we had 24 pounds of fish, and so they swam off, but I knew they're dead. So I told Dylan, I was like, hey man, I just felt terrible. I think we hurt the lake, and he's like, Jimmy, I've heard there's so many fish in that lake. You know there is. He goes, dude, y'all didn't hurt it. Y'all probably helped it by killing some of them 5-pounders. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. We're in Arkansas talking about killing 5-pounders? I was like, no way. But
you know, them lakes are special right now.
Yeah,
you know, they're at the top of their game. But you know, that is pretty disheartening to pull it to a ramp the next morning after a night tournament. I did it on Hamilton this year, and pull up and there's dead fish absolutely everywhere. There was 9 of them. You know, it was me and a few guys got in a tussle about that, but it's wasteful in a way. You know, them fish need to, and it don't look good. Is the main things. And I understand that fish are going to die, but I think in the summertime, I think we need to cut back to 3 fish and do a little bit of policing amongst ourselves on about fish dying, because that's what's happening. They're just throwing them back, and they're moving, but they're floating, and they know they're going to die.
Yeah, they're dead.
And I think that's the main thing we need to do is just police yourself. If you do see dead fish, pick them up.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, no, that's a delay. It's good. And but that Texas biologist, I listened to a podcast with him on it, and he shared how in the summer in Texas, the #1 bass killer are bass tournament anglers. And I was like, after hearing him say that, I'm like, hey, and I think in Arkansas, that's where like you said, that's our part to where we got to do better. The 3 fish limit possibly. Everybody can have the G juice and the ice, but just, and even what they started doing down here was going shorter tournaments. Hey, let's go daylight to 11 just to try to, now we know the best bite might be at noon, but just to save the fish.
Yeah, I think I did a little experiment here at the house. I do a lot of, I'm really mechanical, and I'm really, I read a lot. I do a lot of experiments and things like that, and I build things. I'm just that kind of person. Well, I did a little experiment. I fished a tournament on Hamilton, and I had a fish I turned loose, and it did that. Started swimming across the top of the water, and pretty much knew it was going to die. So I put it in my live well, and I said, "Well, I'll just take it home." I said, "If it makes it, it makes it. Just see if I can bring it back." Well, I left my aerator on all night long in my live well with that fish, and the next day when I grabbed a hold of it, like to rip my arm off. it was still alive and acting normal and everything. I even took it back up there and turned it back loose.
Wow.
It was like a 3 pounder, 3.5 pounder, but that kind of proved to me that a lot of these fish will survive if we just do a little bit of and something that I read is about extreme aeration after a catch. Like if you had a holding tank that had oxygen, just like I think MLF does it. They have the live release boats. You'd have the guys putting the live the fish in there, and it's got actual oxygen pumping into the water. And I think a lot of these fish can be brought back.
Yeah.
They may die later. I don't know. I haven't went that far, but that fish absolutely made it. I guarantee you, it made it. It had no problems. It was a deep caught fish, and it was in bad shape. But I brought it back, and it was one of the experiments that I did just to see if I could do it, and I did it. I used please release me, a little bit of that, along with the aeration, and I think that's one thing that would probably help if people would start using the aerated tanks at Hamilton more. I noticed that a lot of them don't use it, just too much trouble, and if they did that, I think it'd help a lot of fish out. Keep them good enough to release.
Now, hey man, I know we're kind of trying to keep. No, hey, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. We got that. No, go ahead. You're talking about AGFC. We got that lag. Go on.
AGFC was talking about doing a registration for tournaments coming up in the next few years, and I think that may help police a little bit. When somebody's got their name on a document saying that they had a tournament, then I think that may make them kind of go an extra step on protecting fish, because the next guys come in and can actually look back and see who put that tournament off and why they had so many dead fish, and a lot of that was in summertime. So hopefully they get all that straightened out. It's not going to be, from what I understand, it's not going to be any kind of like permit that you cost it costs you anything. It's just going to be a way of getting data, find out how many fish died and how many the weights and all that stuff. And I think they're going to try to do it in 2026, I think. But
well, heck yeah. Well, hey, I know I try to keep these around it. I try to keep these around an hour, and we can probably keep talking and talking. But any thanks you would like to give? Any thanks? It could be family. It could be people that support you in the fishing, man. Any thanks? I tried to do this a little sooner, but we kind of got going, which is fine. We like to talk. I said here we are. I like it.
My wife, number one, she puts up with a lot of my antics when it comes to fishing and lots of traveling, and my dad, my mom, of course, and God for allowing me to actually do this stuff. I mean, it's His creation, and we get to play in it. So definitely that. And I got a buddy, Chris Williams. He helps me a lot on my fishing gear and the boats aspects, and takes care of me on when I have boat issues or rod issues. He takes care of me, and he's an ARC dealer, and that's what I fish with, is ARC rods. So yeah, that's about it.
So for ARC fishing rod, here you go. I want to ask you about ARC fishing rods real quick. I'm going to put you on the spot. If you had to recommend one rod for like a new bass fisherman, that's just a versatile rod, what would it be?
Invoker Pro. ARC Invoker Pro.
Invoker Pro.
So many different types. I don't know. Yes. And I think ARC right now is running some really good deals on them. I think like buy one, get one free.
Oh, wow.
The thing about ARC is they have rods from, the $60 range all the way up to the $250 range. They have a very wide array of rods, baits, everything. They're really good. They have a really good beginning rod. And they have, the reinforcer. I think Spencer, that's what he mainly throws, is reinforcers.
Yeah, he throws. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, they got a lot. They got a lot on their website here. I forgot they do baits too.
Yeah.
So Izzy, man, I said a closing. I want to ask you one more question. If you had to go to one lake to fish in Arkansas in the winter, what lake is it?
Winter fishing in Arkansas.
And I guess I didn't specify it. It could be whatever, catching a lot of fish or big fish, whatever you want to do. So you can just say your lake and why.
It would probably be DeGray, just because it's my home lake and I know how to catch fish there in the wintertime. I know that the potential to catch a double-digit fish is there. It shows out in the wintertime. It's been showing out in the wintertime for the past several years. I know you can go and catch spotted bass. Spotted bass are a little bit more active than largemouth in the wintertime. The gray fishes probably better in the wintertime than it does any other time. So definitely the gray.
Great.
It's deep lake. You have that sub tree line that's down there. That'd be a big key for me in the wintertime.
Nice.
But yeah, the gray for sure.
Heck yeah. Well, Mandy, I appreciate you having you on. Like I said, we're gonna stay in touch. I would like to. I know I'm about to have my kid, and I got a lot going on, but I like to help any way I can in the Arkansas anglers. Man, I like to be involved to help. Man, but once again, I appreciate having you on. Like I said, this podcast is for Arkansas anglers. I want it to be. I have some other guests, and I got a big guest from outside the state coming on in a couple weeks, so I'll kind of have some other ones here and there. But man, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.